Well, I used to work at Hot Topic, and he actually came into the store one day and asked me to help him find some earrings because he has a gauged ear. And I had helped him. I thought he was cute, but I had previously gotten in trouble for flirting with a customer, so I was trying to keep my professionalism. And apparently you also thought I was cute, but he was shy. So about 6 months went by of him coming in the store every day. And I was a little bit dense because I worked with the same manager like over and over again. So I thought they were friends because they talked and they bonded over Star Wars and nerdy boy stuff. And I was like, I like your friend Nate. You should tell him I like him and see if he'll go out with me. And he was like, he's not my friend. And he goes, you really didn't realize he was coming in here to see you? And I was like, he was? So, yeah, that was like September of '08, right? Yeah. And then April of '09, he was going to be alone for Easter, and I couldn't come back up here for Easter. So, like, me and my friends who all worked retail decided we were going to do, like, a cookout at the park. And I was like, well, you can come with us to that. And the whole time, everybody's like, is that your boyfriend? Is that your boyfriend? I was like, it's not my boyfriend. And I'm thinking they're going to turn him off because he probably is like, I just was coming to, like, be friends. I wouldn't try to do all that. But actually, after that, he asked me out. Like, I took him home, and he asked me out at his front door. And I was like, yeah. You liked me? And he's like, yeah, I've liked you the whole time. And I was like, why did you wait so long? So that's how this got started.
I went around the store. I got to know her friend Jackie and her other employee, Crystal, and just talked to them, got to know them. Then after that, David.
Yeah. Like, everybody knew him. They're like, oh, that guy Nate is here. But I think we just assumed, because Hot Topic is kind of a place that gets regulars. So we assumed he was a regular. And I remember thinking, I was like, that guy does not have a life. He's always here. I was like, well, at least he's cute. And he's not one of the creepy ones. So, like, it didn't bother me too much. Plus, it wasn't like he disturbed business or anything. He kind of hung out. He'd buy stuff. He'd, like, walk the mall and come back and everything. I just didn't know all of this was so he could work himself up into asking me out.
Sounds like he was a man on a mission.
Yeah.
When I first saw her, she was very happy, very outgoing kind of person. Talks to a lot of people.
You can say talks a lot. I do.
Well, I do. Yeah. But after meeting our friends at the barbecue Easter thing, I mean, like, I knew her a little bit more from that because, like, her friends were very outgoing and friendly like her, and, you know, it was just very fun being around her and being around her friends.
I like to call his eyes stormy blues because they kind of look like, you know, what is this? Like a classical painting of a shipwreck, and it has that sort of dark blue with like the flecks of white and everything. It looks like a storm. That's what his eyes look like. And I remember being like, his eyes are so pretty. And my friend Jackie was like, well, you did say you want a guy with blue eyes and dark hair. And I was like, yeah, but I was kidding. Like, it's like, really, I'm an equal opportunity dater. So it wouldn't have mattered. But it just turned out he had kind of the thing I had imagined in my head. So, yeah. So we actually hung out but hadn't gone on a planned date. I think we hung out for like 3 or 4 days. And then I was like, you should probably take me on like a real date. And he was like, okay. So Friday we're going to go to La Coretta. I want to make sure that you dress nice and blah, blah, blah. So I got all ready. And I remember we went to the nicest one in town because there's several like all over. And we went to the nicest one in town. And it was weird because I think it was like my first grown-up date. Because most of my other dates have been like to the movies or less nice restaurants.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay, this guy's mature. But I enjoyed it. I remember like getting to talk with him and thinking, we've talked for hours over the last 6 months, but I think I'm getting to know him more than I ever had before then. Because it was just me and him, which is why I realized, oh, he's an introvert. Okay. So he kind of let a little more of himself out. It was really nice.
I just enjoyed being around her. She had a lot to talk about. She was just fun.
Yeah. Well, it was a combination of things. Like, he was a gentleman, like a real gentleman. He pulled my chair out at the table and held the door, which doesn't seem like much, but
No.
I mean, I was raised by my dad and with brothers. So most of my life has been being independent. So for him to beat me to the door and beat me to that means he has to put in effort. And I remember thinking, wow, he's really trying. I thought there aren't a lot of guys who really try to like show that like chivalry. But I liked that, and I remember the chivalry probably was the biggest thing for me. Because I mean, I already knew I liked you. We were friends before then, and I had gotten to know you. But I wanted to go out with you again because I liked dating you. Like, you did dating well. It wasn't just like, well, I like you, and even though the date was, I'll see you again, it was like, no, if I go out with him again, I'm going to enjoy it. So, yeah. We have a hodgepodge dynamic. We are a little traditional and a little modern and it's a little bit of everything. Being that he's the culinary wizard, he cooks most of the time. I have the things I'm good at, and I do those to bless my family, but I also bless my family by not trying things that would be terrible. So he does the cooking. I'm mom in the sense of, watching the kids and making sure they're not running amok. And then, I don't know, like, I am better with math, so I handle the finances in terms of the bill pay and stuff, but he's the provider, so I guess that's kind of traditional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of whatever our strengths are, so I'm more likely to do making doctor's appointments and things that require calling customer service because he's less social, so I handle things like that. And he's also our Mr. Fix-It.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Fix a lot of different things from electronics to automobiles and whatnot.
Yeah, actually, he
household
saves us a lot of money on oil changes.
Yeah.
He's actually pretty handy that way.
Oh wow.
He's actually more artistic than me, so for a lot of the creative projects our kids do, like art and painting and things, they actually do that with him because he's the artist. He's kind of a Renaissance man because he can do tattoos and cook and everything. It's a little bit of everything.
Yeah. I was before I moved down this way, I was studying with someone that I met at college, and they were getting me on the right track to become an apprentice and be able to work in a shop.
Yeah.
So
he has all the equipment. He has a tattoo gun and the sterile needles, the ink and everything.
the funny thing is,
a tattoo from him.
funny thing is, I went to college and I was originally going for my degrees in graphic design, visual communication, and ended up doing it for 6 months. Found out that I wasn't entirely interested in it or cut up for it, so I went back to food. and
Yeah.
I've been studying food ever since.
Yeah.
From baking to cooking to deli, pretty much anything about food. I love food.
Yeah. We actually joked that he's worked at like every restaurant in Lynchburg at some point. And
Yeah.
we've been there long
I know a lot
enough
of
that
people too.
he's worked here and there. And I'm like, you remember he used to work there and there? Yeah. But he's got lots of experience cooking.
The most annoying thing, I think, would be her talking. But it's a good thing and a bad thing, because I like listening to her talk. I like talking to her, but there's sometimes where she won't let me talk.
Yeah. That's why when we do things like this, I'm like, you go first. It's like,
Yes.
once I get started, who
Yes.
knows where it's going? Actually, the not talking thing is actually the most annoying thing about you, because he has a tendency, like, I will say something and he knows I'm talking to him, and it's like, and I go, did you hear me? Yeah. And I'm like, you gonna say something? So probably that, like that, I hate that, because I'm like, I talk a lot and I talk fast, and I'm like, you're from up north. I thought you guys talk a mile a minute. Except he's introspective, so he needs think time, and I'm like, I take think time, but it's like a split second. So yeah, probably that would be the most annoying thing. When I was pregnant with Sharon, because he treated me like a princess the whole time. Whatever I wanted, I got it. And I mean, not because he did what I wanted, but because he just wanted to make this experience. It was a brand new experience for me. Sharon's his second, so he was a little more like level-headed, and all of my little, what about this and what about that? He never treated me like I was crazy, which he could have, because he's been there. So, but everything about that time was love, and it was love from the times we would sit out and talk and like plan our life and what we were gonna do. You know, once she was here, to love from like, I didn't have any weird cravings, but for some reason I really liked sort of like a deconstructed sandwich. So it was like, you would take lettuce, and then you can't eat lunch meat, so you had to like kind of cook it a little, but then you would put the lunch meat on the lettuce and then roll it up, and I would dunk it in mayonnaise and eat it, which is essentially a sandwich without the bread.
Yeah.
But he would make that for me at like 3:00 in the morning. And I was like, I don't know why I want that, but it's good and it's working for me right now. So there was a lot of, like, I didn't really have any complications. It was a picture perfect pregnancy until the end. I swole a lot, like my legs and stuff.
No, but it was funny how you found out you were pregnant, though.
That's a story. Yeah, that's a story. But it was just the care and time that he took to like make me feel loved the whole time. He would, like, when my legs did swell, I had to sit in a recliner with my feet up for like 2 months. Yeah, about 2 months. And the last month I couldn't even sleep in a bed, so I had to sleep in the recliner. But he would like rub my feet every day. And I remember being like, just my whole leg, everything from the knee down hurts. And he would rub it all. And he would just sit there and like we'd watch TV, and he'd rub my legs until they didn't hurt, or at least until I could handle it. And then like it was just nice. It was so nice to like have somebody take care of me like that. I mean, my parents took care of me good, but you know, I never had anybody be that attentive. And he had always been attentive in our relationship, but I think at a time where I was like most vulnerable and where I was like worried, like, how's this gonna go? Is he gonna be patronizing, or because it can go bad? He made the whole experience wonderful. So like when our daughter came into the world, it was this magical thing, because the whole experience from finding out about her to her coming was magic. And a lot of that was him, was just like making that experience awesome for me. Yeah.
I think the thing I love the most about her is the fact that, like, thinking back to a lot of the times that I needed someone to just back me up the most, she was always right there, always backing me up, always defending me, always just one step away, basically.
Yeah. Aw, thank you.
For a story that she backed me up, I think the one that helped me out the most was when I was starting my business, Nathan's Pastries, and I was trying to get customers, trying to book events, and I was having trouble talking to people, contacting people, and she was right there every second, every step of the way, just jumping in there and being my go-to person, always talking about me, always talking about the business, just telling everything the way it is. It was great.
The most settling thing that I learned about myself, because I had always thought it, but the thing that like made me know for sure this is me, this is my heart, whatever other kind of person I am, I'm definitely this, was finding out I will do whatever it takes for the people I care about. And everybody thinks that, but we've been through enough that I've seen myself give more than I thought I had and take more than I thought I would and just stretch and stretch and stretch, because I love them, especially with the kids, because sorry, especially with the kids, that's one of them now. I was a little worried to be a mom because I didn't have that good relationship with my stepmom, and I kind of thought, I'm gonna mess this up. And what surprised me was how much, like when I met him, he had a daughter, she was 4 at the time, and I remember checking out every book on step parenting at the library, just being like, okay, so I have to do this and I have to do that. And then when we became parents, I was like, okay, so I think this is what I want to, be as a parent. But finding out that there was more natural mom in me than I thought, and the fact that it was there because I've always been the person who's willing to do what it takes for people I care about, just made me like, good, that is me. And I can rest knowing like I'll never be too cowardly to do what it takes, or I'll never be like afraid. I'm pretty lion-hearted when it comes to my people, whether it's my husband or my kids or even my friends. It's not just family, but it was nice to see that and know like that's not just words. I have moments that I remember I have a choice and I can do this or I can do this. And it's like, this would be easier, but this would work best for everybody. And being surprised that I chose this thing and being like, yes, I'm a good person. Because life can show you things about yourself that could be bad. So it was nice to find good in me.
More communication, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't have as much communication skills with my family growing up. So knowing her and growing up with her afterwards, I learned to communicate better with more people.
Yeah.
That's helped me out a lot. I grew up in a neighborhood that had a variety of different people from different backgrounds, ethnic and racial. So I didn't look at everything a certain way because we didn't really think of stuff like that. We didn't have many black people in our neighborhood. I grew up with one kid that was in our school. So when I came down here, there was more black people. It was different and unusual, but it didn't really matter. It was just, a different atmosphere. That's it. Getting to know her, learning different attitudes that she has compared to me, her family's atmosphere, very rich in religion and music. It was great. It was amazing.
Yeah. The more that we have been together, and especially since we've had children, I have really gotten to understand that I am more in touch with my blackness than I thought, and I like it, which is good. And then, hey, not everybody does, which is terrible, but true. But especially like with the way the racial climate in our country shifted, I was like, okay, so this is the time for me to really solidify what I think, what I feel, take the opportunity, because being married to a white guy means I have an ally with some privilege. And so then it was like, well, now I feel like I have the responsibility to kind of educate him so that he can be as useful as possible to making, the world better for us and our kids. And it made me a lot more, like, not self-conscious, but like culturally conscious. I was actually surprised at some of the things that I thought were like a black thing that I realized, no, there's white people kind of do that too. Although I'm finding out that ethnic white people are closer to black people than like, I don't want to say like regular white people, but but I mean like his family on his mom's side is Portuguese, and so, well, Portuguese and Lithuanian, but they their culture is sort of Portuguese. So when we went up there for Christmas, it was the most surreal feeling ever to be in a room full of white people and not feel my blackness, And to think, I sort of expected that they would try very hard to make me feel comfortable and to let me know that they're trying to make me feel comfortable, because that tends to happen. And I don't think white people know that actually makes us uncomfortable. Like, you don't have to give me special treatment. Just don't be a jerk, But I was expecting that, and instead, I realized about halfway through the night, I was like, man, I have not felt like the black person once. This is my family. I feel like a part of them, and actually made me cry because I was like, this is so nice. It's like I just got, I don't know, like the Homer Simpson going into the hedge thing. Like it was like they just encompassed me in love in a way that made me feel really proud to be a part of them, and then made me feel like you guys are invited to the cookout for sure. Like, I don't know. It was weird because I've always had this, even growing up in a like ethnic rich area like this where everybody's here, I don't think I ever felt not black as much, or not black, but not like sticking out like a sore thumb as much as that. And it was nice. And then I was like talking with his family about it, and they were like, well, you're married to Nathan, so you're part of our family, and even if you weren't, like, you're just Nate's friend, you're a great person. We judge people on the person they are. And I was like, yeah, but all white people say that. There's not a whole lot of them that do that seamlessly, you know? But it's made me, our kids actually have made me question what I understood interracial kids to be, because I remember growing up, there were 2 interracial girls in our class. One of them was culturally black and one of them was culturally white, even though they were, you know, biologically both. And when I took a social issues class, I had to write a paper on something, and I remember deciding, at the time it was just Sharon, and I decided I'm gonna write my paper on the forming of an identity for multiracial, multi-ethnic kids. And I found out that as much as we don't mean to categorize them one way or the other is actually confusing and detrimental to like their forming of their comfortable identity. And because I've always thought like mixed kids are basically black. And then doing the research, I found out that is a throwback to the one drop rule, and it's actually limiting and kind of demeaning without meaning to be. And I was like, but she think, like, you know, for my one friend, she's like, I'm basically black. And I remember thinking, well, she thinks she's black, so what difference does it make? But studying it psychologically and how that, the history, and then how that affects like your mentality and like how you live your life and everything, it changed the kind of parent that I was, because it made me remove these identities and presuppositions and things that I had from them and just let them form who they are within themselves, and let them be comfortable with wherever they feel like they stand. Not to say that if Sharon grows up and she feels like she's a strong black woman, she's wrong. She's not. But that's an identity that I want her to form for herself, and not that I want to be like pushing that on her, you know? I also have found that it's really important as a black mother to interracial children to really value the culture that he brings, because as they get older, they can feel the disconnect, especially because they are brown, you know? And what I don't want is for them to ever feel like at some point they're out of place with him or his family. I want them to feel as equally engaged with his culture and his you know, what he brings as they feel with me, not just because society says that they go with me, because they go with you too. So that's been interesting, because I had a lot of things that I thought were one way that I'm reforming as I'm in this experience, and it's been interesting. And it's been a really cool way to help like my friends who aren't in interracial relationships kind of understand, you know, how this works, and then like how to be with my kids and stuff like that. Because I was like, I don't know how to have the conversation where I'm like, don't just only buy them like black Barbies. You know what I mean? Not to say don't buy them black Barbies, but please don't assume that that's all we're going to do. I don't care if my child wants the Asian, which she actually picks the Asian doll more often than anything, but it was like, I want that to be what she sees and what she wants and what she likes. And so I've like made my friends, like their godparents, I'm like, pay attention to what she likes. That way, whatever you get is unique to her and not just, well, she's got a black mom, so we'll get her black people this and black people that. Because she gets a very real part of her identity from him and his culture, and it's as important, and it shouldn't be dismissed just because, you know, our culture has a tendency to feel like, well, if the light-skinned kids like their white side, then that means they don't like their black side. And it's like, no, they love us both.
Yeah.
I think 20 years from now, I'm hoping that I'll be able to kind of tap into the the endurance that I have now. Well, hopefully in 20 years I'll have endured so well that it will be easy, but but I hope that I'll be able to look and kind of be happily reminded of like this time where our kids are young and, you know, money's tight and life is hard, and just think like we made it through that, and we had the will and the power to endure, because I think right now we're surviving. Well, not, that sounds terrible. Not surviving our marriage, but just like surviving life. It's a hard part of life. And I know like when they're 10 and 7, it'll be a different world and like different problems, but definitely, well, in 20 years, Lord, she'll be 24. Oh my gosh. Hopefully she'll be living by herself. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Like, she's 4 right now, so the mom in me is like, I want her near me. When she's 12, I might be like, man, I can't wait for her to be gone. But yeah, I think just the staying power of what we have now, because it's day to day sometimes. Like I'm dealing myself with like postpartum depression and anxiety, and it's different because after Sharon it was like, I'm a mom, this is the best thing ever. And I think I maybe had a little hormonal imbalance, so they were like, well, you kind of have the baby blues. And I was like, it's fine, I'll be fine. And I made it right through that. And it was not as much of a breeze after Connor. And so right now, it really is, it's kind of day to day, trying to remember what I'm thankful for and remember, like, this is good. I got these ones, and I love these ones. So I can make it just one more day. And I'm like, it's fine. I can make it till therapy. I just got to make it to therapy, and then I can go talk this out, and then I'll be fine, because really all I need is to talk it out, you know. But it's hard. Like, this part of life is hard. So I think in 20 years, I will be hopefully happy and proud of our staying power, because not everybody has lasted. Yeah.
I think after 20 years, coming back to this, you know, learning how we grew as a couple, where we came from, and, you know, how we learn to love even more.
Yeah, that's true. Because this really, it was a great exercise, and like, oh yeah, I like that about you. I really think all married couples should do this once. Like, even if it's not necessarily on camera. Well, no, it should be recorded, so you can watch it later when you're like, try to record it.
That's why I'm